Yeah, it's all down.
All right. Well, welcome to the first episode, the premiere event of Fantasy Football with Cam and Dan. Or what was our name? Late Night
I was
Chats.
going to ask if you remembered what it
It
actually
was
was
after
supposed to be.
our, we had a lot of really great
No, I
titles.
think we were calling it evening shifts.
Yes, that's right. Evening shifts with Cam and Dan.
Yeah,
Um, Today we'll be going over Dan's recent fantasy football draft in a 12 man half point PPR half point PPR league where he picked number one overall.
yeah.
Um,
What I remember is that it's very standard scoring in that
yeah,
everything is weird.
everything's totally normal.
Yeah.
6 point per passing touchdown. Defenses score infinite points. Uh,
And
Return
it
yards.
doesn't matter if interceptions are thrown,
No, they're
right?
minus 1 point. Who cares? Fumbles
Yes.
are
So
worth
what?
infinity though.
Well, that's
So
right. And wasn't there return yardage too?
Yes, yes. So Brandon Ayuk is going to be insane because he gets return yardage, but that's spoilers. So we're going to
Okay.
jump right in. I'm going to share my screen so you guys can all see here what we're talking about, and we'll jump right into the draft. So, oh, that's not the draft.
Nope, that's your team. You
No,
want
no,
to
no.
jump
Don't
right
look
into
at that.
your
That's a
team?
secret.
Oh,
All
spoilers for
right.
the next
So
15 minutes.
here's the draft here. So round one started, we're all sitting around the table. I find out I have picked one because of course they randomized 30 minutes before. So you can't like plan out your idea. You have to just be panicked at what's happening. And so I was good and panicked at like, what do I do? And so I looked at, there's two obvious choices here. It's Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey. Um, you
Yeah,
could,
I was kind of interested in because when I knew like what I knew about the draft and everything, given that it was half point PPR, I still thought Jonathan Taylor would go first overall.
yes. And I think he's probably the safer pick. Both because McCaffrey has played 10 games in the last 2 years, and because he's younger and more powerful and was the RB1 last year, right? For all those reasons, he's safer. But I
Yeah,
think McCaffrey's ceiling is higher because he catches passes, because we know what he's like, because he has done it with all kinds of quarterbacks and all kinds of situations. Like we just know what McCaffrey is. We have one season of data on Jonathan Taylor, and we don't know what he's going to be like in a situation where they have a competent quarterback who throws to running backs. Like, will Naheem Hines actually be more involved? We saw Jonathan Taylor have these huge weeks, but we also saw him kind of disappear in games where they were behind. McCaffrey is never that. He is involved till he dies, and he might.
yep, and that involved till he dies, which
Could be
he's
week two.
died during several seasons.
Yep.
And that doesn't mean that he will this time, but
No.
it's a potential.
So what I went into this with was who do most analysts rank as number one? Is it Jonathan Taylor or is it Christian McCaffrey? The guys that I trust did McCaffrey over Taylor. That's not consensus, but they're close enough that I'm going to go with the guys I trust. And I had to ask the question, do I believe that these unrelated injuries are the sign of a 26-year-old's body breaking down, or do I believe it's injury luck? And I decided it's injury luck, and I'm going for it. And if he's breaking down, then I'll be on the last ship home.
yeah, well, I know that you've got a lot of history with backs and having injury luck.
Yes, I
So
do.
we'll hope the best for you
Yeah,
on that.
so I thought maybe I could dodge it by doing the opposite of what I should do, and maybe Jonathan Taylor will be the one who gets injured since he's missed one game in the last like 100 years of playing football. So anyway, that was pick one. Um, uh, uh, Jaden and Micah here were very excited that I picked CMC because neither of them wanted him. So
Okay.
so we went Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Diggs, Harris, Henry, Adams, Jones. Pretty standard first round.
I man, yes, standard. I think that Devonte Adams pick is going to blow up.
We'll see. I have no idea. Uh,
I
I I genuinely don't.
I
At the beginning I thought he was going to be terrible, but the more I've thought about it, the more I'm like, I think Derek Carr's not that bad, and I'm okay with it. What's up, Charlie? I can a little bit. Okay. That was my daughter. She says hi. um, yeah. So we'll see. I don't know.
Well, okay, and I'm not saying that he's going to be bad. I just don't like when I look at the first round. You
Mhm.
can't win the league in the first round,
But you can
but you
lose it.
can lose the league in the first round.
Yep.
You
Yep.
have to nail that first round pick, just kind of like in the regular league as well.
Yep.
You've got to get your first round draft pick right, and then you get some smattering of help, and you hope
Yep.
for those late round steals.
Yep. If
I
I had
think
had,
Davante Adams is very risky
it's
for the first round.
it's possible. If I had had any pick outside the top 4, I probably would have taken Justin Jefferson, because he feels really safe this year. He's just going to catch the ball a million times.
I
Same.
completely agree, especially, and I hate saying this, with Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen's injury history.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson is going to be the safest person, or should be,
Yeah.
out of that group.
I think him and Jamar Chase and Diggs are all super safe. Diggs probably has a lower ceiling than the other two, but anyway, that was the first round. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Second round goes Joe Mixon, Kamara, Tyreek, which, again, could be fine or could blow up in his face. I just don't know.
That's another risky one.
Yeah.
But with that, I mean, with that team already having Derrick Henry, which again, yeah, injury possibilities there.
Right.
But getting Derrick Henry late in the first round is still a good pick. And
yeah,
Tyreek Hill, he can blow up.
Yep. He can win you a week. Even with, he doesn't need Mahomes to do that. He can catch a slant and be gone.
Exactly. He can catch a 5-yard pass and turn it into 80.
Yep.
He can do that.
Yep.
So
we don't have to get into it now. We'll save this for a future episode, but I'm very interested in the Derrick Henry this year because I was just listening to a podcast that talks about the Titans could be bad, like really, really bad. And they have Robert Woods is their number 1 wide receiver. Derrick Henry's going to face 11-man boxes. They're just going to say, like, we're not going to cover the wide receivers. We're just going to stop Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
So he's Derrick Henry. He'll probably be fine. But the injury last year, 10% reoccurrence, right? Very low. But plus that, it's scary. I'm glad I didn't have to make that choice.
By all means. I just think for the player, you pick players.
Right.
You have to pick the player.
Right.
And I think late first round, Derrick Henry was a solid choice.
Right.
I can understand going with Tyreek Hill as the kind of the RB, the WR1 for that team. I think that's a solid pick.
And that's why I picked Christian McCaffrey, because I relate to him as a 200-pound jacked white guy. Let's move on. Okay, so DeAndre Swift, Saquon, who again has this.
I love DeAndre Swift.
This year,
that Detroit defense is terrible.
Yeah.
But DeAndre is going to catch so many passes when they're coming from behind.
Yeah. It's going to be and their O-line's good, so he can run too.
Yep. It's like that to me right there. I know it's early in the second round.
Yep.
That's the steal of the second round.
Yep, I agree.
Because
he's a first-round pick.
Easily first-round pick.
Yep. All right, we got Barkley, who's scary, but I probably would have picked if he got to me. You got Chubb, who's scary, not in his talent, but in the situation. You got Kelsey. This is late for him, but he's scary because he's old now, and there's no Tyreek. But he could still catch 100,000 balls. I just don't know.
And that's where I wonder if Tyreek going actually might help Kelsey.
It's possible.
In terms of volume, just because if they don't have that home run threat, they're going to need to be more methodical.
Plop.
Yeah. And they'll feed him. Now, like you said, he's getting old and he has had some injuries himself.
Yep. So we'll see. I love the back-to-back here. Andrew's going right away. I think that's way too early, but I love the audacity of saying he's the number 1 tight end in my mind. I'm taking him as soon as Kelsey goes off the board. Okay. You get your guy. CD, I think, could go either way. there's no one else on that team and they're not going to be good. And so he could blow up, or he could prove what he proved last year, that he's not a number one receiver. I genuinely don't know.
Right.
So that's interesting. Fournette, same thing. Like last year he blew up, but they're not going to be as good. Their O-line is in shatters, shambles. I'm scared about that. Same thing here. I mean, I think Evans
Same
will
with
be great.
Evans.
I think he'll catch enough passes with Godwin hurt, but
Yeah.
though I didn't want to make either of those two choices either.
Well,
So
thankfully for you, they were both gone.
yep. So it fell to me, and I decided to go with a risky pick, but a home run swing in Javonte Williams. He was basically where I drafted him last year. Like that's where he finished. And the assumption is he'll get even more touches with Melvin Gordon on his last year of his contract. And if something happens to Melvin, he becomes its like RB1. And with Russell Wilson there, he should have even more running room. So it felt risky, but I didn't love enough the wide receivers on the board. Like I knew there'd be wide receivers later that I liked, and I felt the fear of McCaffrey going down. And so I said, I want a running back. And since I picked back to back, I also knew I wanted Kyle Pitts. I just went into the draft saying I'm taking Kyle Pitts. So
yeah. And I think you took him where you needed to, because he would have definitely been gone by
that
the
was
time.
my thought. He's not coming back to me in round 4. So
Especially with both Kelsey and Andrews gone.
yep. So tell me what you think about the Javonte Williams pick, because that was maybe the most controversial so far.
You know, again, like you said, because of the injury issues with CMC, you want somebody who's going to be a safe pick.
Mm-hmm.
I think Javonte is safe, especially looking at kind of who else is coming off the board after that. I really don't like any of those running backs that were taken in round 3.
Yep.
And I think that there's a big drop off between that. And I am not sold on Melvin Gordon, and I never have been.
Yep.
I would not be surprised. From what I saw from Javonte, I would not be surprised if even without an injury, Javonte takes over that.
Yeah, I agree. And
honestly,
even Melvin Gordon in like an interview was like, Javonte's special and they want him to be the guy. If the guy
traded up to get him.
Yeah, so it might be next year, but I think it's this year.
I wouldn't have been surprised if it was last year.
Yeah, right. And it almost was. He was good.
Yeah, he was very, very good.
So I think he has a pretty good chance of taking the rushing title this year. Anyway, we've talked ad nauseum about Kyle Pitts. Enough to say for our listeners, we think he's good.
I love Kyle Pitts, especially in that offense. He's going to get so many dump offs from Mariota.
The way I thought of it was I went running back, wide receiver, but I can play my wide receiver in my tight end slot. And
that's what you want with a tight end.
Like he could finish wide receiver 1. That is a possibility. It's not going to happen with Mariota at the helm, but he could do it.
Yeah.
Now he could finish top 10 in points overall. I think that's possible. I don't think it's going to. I think he's probably top 30 in overall.
But you're talking overall and not just
round 3 and a tight end. So I'm fine with it. Here's where things get interesting. So Pittman off the board. He's the one, if I had taken someone else, I would have taken him. Debo goes off the board. I don't know how I feel about Debo this year, so I'm glad I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Zeke goes off the board way too early, in my opinion.
Zeke has been on the decline for 5 years now.
Agreed. Dameon Pierce off the board so early.
And Dallas just lost their
Tyron Smith. Anyway,
without Tyron Smith, their O-line is average.
This is a disaster. Yeah, it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, that was a terrible pick.
Yeah, this is a terrible pick. This guy's cheesing the draft. T. Higgins, great pick. He's going to be huge. Courtland Sutton, I think this is right where you got to take him. He could be Russell Wilson's, guy this year.
Yeah.
He could also prove that he's not actually as good as everyone thought he was. which is what I'm a little bit afraid of.
It's entirely possible, but again, you're rolling the dice.
Yeah, and it's Russell Wilson. He's going to throw the ball to him.
Yeah, I mean, and the rest. I mean, with that person having Jamar Chase on their team,
Yep.
he has a legitimate chance to have like the top wide receiver room in the league.
Yep. Yep. All right, James Conner, could be amazing, but Arizona scares me, so I don't want anything to do with it. AJ Brown is an amazing player, an incredible talent. I have no idea if Philadelphia is going to use him right. Or
Who's
Jalen.
throwing the ball again for Philadelphia?
Well, maybe they'll just hand it to him. Listen,
you're
Jalen
right.
Hurts. Everyone said he's more accurate. If he takes a step forward, that team has one of the best offensive lines, and at least people who know how to do everything besides draft wide receivers. So evidently they can just buy them, and it's good.
Yeah, well, again, with that person having Najee and DeAndre, I think they're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
But AJ Brown gives him a potential, WR
Yep.
5.
Yep, it's
I would
possible.
say. So
It's possible.
in the best circumstance, that's what he could be, but I don't think he hits that.
Yep. I was really hoping if he had made it to me in the 4th round, I would have taken it. That was never going to happen.
That's a no-brainer.
I was hoping Allen Robinson to make it to me. He didn't. Keenan Allen goes off the board. I think he'll be fine, but not great. Juju, I think this is way too early for Juju. He has Mahomes, but he's Juju. We know who he is.
He's not good.
No.
He's maybe the second wide receiver on a team.
Yeah, I agree.
At this point.
I agree. And that's what he is. To Travis Kelce, that's what he'll be, maybe.
True.
So, all right, then Allen goes off the board. I think that's fine. Lock up their QB room. He's going to be amazing. Mahomes might be a little early. It's a 6-point per passing touchdown league, so like these passers are more valuable, you could say, but crazy that these 4 go off the board. Bam, bam, bam. Herbert, I think, is going to be out of his mind this year. We'll see.
I hate that Lamar Jackson pick.
Yeah.
I just have to say that.
Pretty early, so
that
we'll see.
Is awful.
We'll talk about that later.
With Herbert still on the board, you can't take Jackson.
Yeah, I agree. He's the clear number 3, at least, if not number 2. Dobbins, I think, is going to be hurt this year. I think he's probably back to full health next year. I don't want him this year.
Yeah, and right now, Baltimore is going to have offensive problems.
Yep.
It's just the way it goes. I still am firmly in the camp of J.K. Dobbins, and I still think he's a potential RB1 if he's healthy.
I agree. I just don't think he's healthy till end of this year, if not next year. I think this is another great pick for deliberate dominator here. DJ Moore he's never gotten touchdowns, but he's always put up yards. If that changes, he's a wide receiver 1 to go with the rest of his team. He's got Cooper Kupp, Travis Kelce, T. Higgins, and now his wide receiver room is loaded.
Yeah, and as well with that, DJ Moore has not had a quarterback so far.
Yep.
And whatever you say about Mayfield, he's still an upgrade.
Yep, I agree. I talked about trading for DJ Moore, but with McCaffrey, I don't know if I want to stack my Panthers. But we'll talk about that maybe on a future episode.
Sure.
Kittle goes off at 8. Eli Mitchell, who could be amazing, could be just a bust at 9. Mike Williams, I think, is the pick of the draft so far at 10. He might be wide receiver 1 for the best quarterback in the league this year.
It could happen, and I could totally see it. That is a great pick.
I really thought he was going to make it to me, and I was going to have the best draft of all time.
Yeah,
but he didn't. And then I wanted ETN. And
I was going to say as well, I like that ETN pick. I think he is also another guy he's on a terrible team, but he is going to catch so many passes.
I wanted this pick. I wanted one of these 2 guys, and they took them back to back, and I was so tilted. And so I made 2 questionable.
So tilted that you took a Jet.
I took 2 questionable picks. I took a Jet and a Bear. So
I didn't even see that.
Yeah. So Breece Hall, I believe in the talent. I don't really believe in the Jets.
Well, who does believe in the Jets?
Not many people. Not many people at all.
Not this guy.
So this was kind of like a crap. All the guys I really want are off the board. I don't really want anyone that's taken in this round or in this round at this point. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll take another home run string at running back. And if he hits, I can trade him or have the best running back room in the league. And like with him in my flex, if he's a RB1, which he could be if Michael Carter gets out of the way, even if the Jets are terrible, he
Yeah.
can catch the ball. So he just gets volume.
I think best case scenario for you is that he has a couple good weeks in the first three and you
Yeah.
can flip him.
Yeah. I think it's actually the opposite. He won't be good for a few weeks, but
I know, but I'm saying if he is good in the
yeah.
first, like, if he's good in 2 of the first 3 weeks,
Yeah.
see what you can get for him.
If I had been smarter, I would have taken AJ Dillon there. I think he'll have those weeks, and then I could have flipped him. Or I would have just taken, like Deontay Johnson or I don't know, somebody else. But like I said, I wasn't in love with anybody here. So I went Brees Hall and Mooney. I went off somebody's rankings who said he could be a wide receiver one. It's kind of a reach, considering where he was in Yahoo's rankings, but he's going to get volume. And if Justin Fields can do anything, they're going to be down all the time.
And speaking as a Vikings fan, I still believe that Justin Fields is going to be a good NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
And I was so mad when Chicago took him.
Yeah. I almost drafted him as my second quarterback this league, but somebody took him and there's only 5 bench spots. So these two picks are kind of, prey picks. I don't love either of them, but I'm okay with them. I would have felt way better with these two picks, right? If those two guys had reached and I got Mike Williams and ETN, I win the draft. It's over.
Yep.
I came within 2 picks.
If you had both of them after your round 5,
right?
You could basically just set up shop and be like, I'll just take
2 picks from winning the draft, Cam. I was 2 picks away. Oh, it kills me. But so then I have to just swing for the fences. So we're running low on time. So let me go through this a little quicker. But after these two, which, like I said, are kind of home run swings with low probability.
I still believe in Cam Akers.
I do too, but again, Achilles is like a death null, and so I want to give him a year. I don't want him this year.
I know. I'm with you on that.
So yeah, Waller goes off. Waller, the contract, the hamstring, he'll probably be fine, but I was afraid of it. I don't know what happens with Adams. You talked about Akers. We talked about Brady and that line. I don't know. This could be a great pick, but the Bears are just going to be bad, so I'm afraid of it. I think this is another great pick. I think his team might be the team to beat so far. AJ Dillon, as much as I hate the Packers, like they're just going to run the ball and then throw the ball every once in a while, and they're going to be good at it.
Yep. As they are every year.
Yeah. Yep. Dalton Schultz. I think that's a fine pick. I don't know what to do with Jalen Waddle or Deontay Johnson or DK Metcalf. Like these three, I have no idea how to value them. I think he'll catch some balls, but he'll probably be a little less valuable than last year. I think he'll be good, but who's his quarterback and what does that mean? But also who was his quarterback last year? But also they drafted George Pickens. So like what? So that's why I didn't want Deontay Johnson, although I love him as a player.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think they just picked Trubisky as their starter.
I think so, and that's not fun for anyone. So Metcalf is a giant human being, so I think he'll probably be fine, but I don't want anyone that Geno Smith is throwing the ball to. We'll talk about Seattle a little more later. I think Cordero will be actually amazing for like 5 weeks, and then he'll break down again. But I think this is a great pick if you need an early running back. If I could have paired him with Brees Hall and gotten a wide receiver instead of Javonte, that might have felt really good. But I didn't do that.
Again, another one where you hope he kind of blows up in the first weeks.
Yep.
You go to somebody who's got, down on their luck and they want a home run and they overpay for him.
Yep. Amon-Ra could be a great pick. I think he showed what he had last year. We had dynasty talks about this guy and he was legit. And so we'll see what he can do. You know, hard knocks hero right there.
It's going to be tough with that Detroit team. But again, like I said, that Detroit defense is terrible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they have no depth.
Yep. So we will see.
And I'm Jeff Okuda and everyone else is
Mhm.
basically their
Yeah.
defense is one guy.
Hitchinson's going to be a monster, but
Yeah,
he's the only one. They'll just have their whole line block him and be like, who cares about everyone else?
Right. Yeah.
Thielen, interesting. He could score a bunch of touchdowns, or he could be old and bad. And
He's gonna get hurt.
yeah, I think he'll be a great flip candidate. He'll explode the first 3 weeks, but he won't flip him.
No, is that because that's Jeremy?
Yeah.
Yep, he's not flipping Adam Thielen. He's going to ride or die Adam Thielen.
Yes, he is. Dawson Knox, I think, could be great, but there's just a lot of mouths. There's a lot of food, but a lot of mouths on the Bills. Hawkinson, you know, same old. I don't think he's going to get enough volume.
No, not that. They're going to throw the ball a lot, but it's not going to be enough.
Yep. I love these 3 picks. I think Chase Edmonds is going to eat in Miami. He's going to be the RB1. I think Brandon Cooks is going to eat in Houston. I almost wish I'd picked him.
In Houston?
Who cares? Brandon Cooks is going to get past.
No, I mean, is there anyone else?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And Davis Mills might be okay. Like, he doesn't have to be great for Cooks to score 1,000 points because he's the only one there. So, and their defense won't be good. So.
No.
Anyway, and I think Burrow, you know, getting him in the 6th round after everyone else is gone feels good.
Yeah, especially with like Jackson and Brady off the board.
Yep.
Like, how did those guys go before?
Yep.
But whatever.
Anyway, yeah. So I don't know if you want to say anything about the rest of these guys. We got Jacobs, Alberto, Jerry.
I like that you picked a gopher. That Baltimore offense is going to be terrible, though.
Yeah, so I picked Rashad Bateman at the end of the 6th round, only because they have no one else. And if their running game's terrible, he's going to catch the ball. And Marquise, you know, was a wide receiver 20, like top 20. And so Bateman could be that. So they could be terrible, but he could be great. And if Lamar has something to prove to earn his thing, he's got to show it by throwing the ball. So it's possible.
And Rashad is a big enough body and he's got enough speed that he's able to do whatever he needs.
Right. So do I love that he's my wide receiver 2? I do not. But is there the potential for him to live up to wide receiver 2? There is. So
yeah,
I think he's a wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside.
And getting him at the end of round 6 is perfectly fine.
Yep. And then I took Brandon Ayuk with the next pick in hopes that all the talk that happened the last 2 years, that he's better than Deebo Samuel, that him and Trey Lance have a mind meld. If any of that is true, you know, I'll take it and see. It's possible.
And like you were saying, the return yards, he's going to get return yards.
Right. So I'm okay with that pick. The only person I almost picked here that I've been talking to Mata Midai boy about trading is Kadarius Toney. If I want a token giant on my team who has wide receiver 1 potential for the 2 weeks that he plays this year, like I know he can do it, and I need a wide receiver 1, and he has every need to show it, or he's going to get canned. But I don't know if he can stay on the field. If he hadn't gotten hurt this preseason, that would have been my pick. But I picked Ayuk. Again, great money on Kyler here and Russell. Those are great values.
I love both of those.
If there weren't terrible things, here's your boy Jalen Hurts. You love that pick. Which at this point in round 7, if he just does what he did last year, it's worthwhile. And he couldn't throw last year, so
he'll get points for running.
Yep.
If he does that, that's value in that round.
Ramadre, I love this if the Patriots could still run the ball, but it sounds like they changed their scheme and it's not working in camp. And that could just be Bill Belichick smoke and mirrors. But if it's true, I don't want anything to do with them.
Yeah, and remind me again, which New England running back have we been able to trust in like the last 10 years?
James White isn't there. It doesn't matter. Everything's fine. It's going to be fine.
Okay.
Antonio Gibson, sad story about him just not being trusted, and then Brian Robinson getting shot. I don't want anything to do with this. I'll be there in just a second, Charlie.
Yeah,
Um,
I completely agree.
so
That's a tough situation.
yep. So go through that. James Cook, I think it could be interesting, but way too early on Buffalo defense. Chris
I
Godwin,
don't like I don't like any Buffalo running backs.
yeah, agreed.
It's
Agreed.
too much committee. I don't like it. And the quarterback, Josh Allen, he'll just run himself.
Yep, agreed.
He's better than all the rest of the running backs.
Agreed. I almost took Michael Thomas here instead of Brandon Ayuk. I think if he's anything like he was, this could be a huge value, but I decided to go Ayuk instead. Call me crazy. I don't know. Kirk,
Yeah, that was the one that I mean, getting round him in round 8.
I
That
was going to take him
is
here. Um,
that is the steal of the draft
mhm,
as long as he's healthy.
mhm. And what I might suggest is a trade of like Ayuk and um, I could get Kirk and Tony if I wanted to for two of my receivers. It's something I'm toying with. They're obviously later picks, so it's not like worthwhile from that perspective. But
Right.
anyway, it's something I'm toying with. So I kind of
Well,
wanted
again,
Rashad.
I think Michael Thomas starts slow,
Yeah,
and I think he's one to target early on.
yeah, maybe.
As long as like he'll start slow, but as long as he looks like he isn't hampered by injury,
Right. You want
target
him. Yep. All right. Penny, I would have taken just because like seems like a good time to get a potential and he might get hurt, but like so is the rest of my team, but he got taken.
Well, I mean, who you'd hate to pick him because then you couldn't double down on New York Jets.
That's true, which I did. Elijah Moore. But he performed he in 5 weeks once he figured things out after he got over his injuries, he was a wide receiver one. So like did I accidentally pick my wide receiver one in the 8th round because Zach Wilson's going to have no time to throw the ball. So he's going to be like, who's my closest person? Oh, it's Elijah Moore wide open again. I guess I'll throw him the ball.
It's entirely possible.
He's
And
close
Zach
enough that I
Wilson
can
might
hit him.
just throw the ball out of the end zone like every single play.
Hey, listen, he might even be starting week 1. So
You're right.
anyway, then we're
Critical.
already way past the amount of time I said I had for this. So Trey Lance was my next pick. Again, trying to swing for the fences with all these picks.
Well, I know how you like your San Francisco QBs.
I do. I love them so much. But if Ayuk Lance stack works,
Yeah.
I have a good team. If it doesn't hurt me that much. It's round 9. So whatever.
I'm with you there.
There's
I
nothing
like
crazy
that.
in this
I like
round.
having the handcuff.
It was him or Rogers, so I'm fine with it. In round 10, that's where Tony goes. I probably would have drafted him if he made it, but of course I get sniped right here. Classic. I also might have taken Lockett just in the off chance, like it's round 10. But since he went, I decided to take Kenneth Walker as a flyer and say, like, if Penny gets hurt, as he always does, I'll have the running back for Seattle as a backup. And I guess I should fill out my running back room since I only have the guys I took at the top of the draft. And then I took Kenneth Gainwell he will always get 5 points a game, and every once in a while he'll get in the end zone for the Eagles. So that way I have a guy, and if I got to cut him for somebody else, that's and then round 12, I took my defense, Denver, for that week 1 matchup. I think they'll do just fine, and I believe in their defense.
Yeah.
And then
And
Brian
then just
Robinson. Then I'll just stream. But then I took Brian Robinson when I found out, he might be back week 5, throw him on the IR. And if he gets back week 5 and has the job, awesome.
He had there was good stuff being said about it. And
yeah,
regardless of how it happens, hopefully he at least returns healthy.
Yep. And I felt like he deserved to be drafted, and it's around 13.
Yeah.
So I did. Then I took my kicker. What's not listed here is I also took another Washington football team. I put him on IR and grabbed Jahan Dotson, who is starting in 2 wide receiver sets across from Terry McLaurin. He's a high draft capital. He had a connection with Carson Wentz, if that means anything in the preseason.
Unfortunately, it doesn't.
And he was a pickup off the waiver wire. So
yeah.
anyway, so That's the draft.
Yep. And then looking at your team, yeah, I mean, I like your running back room. I like Kenneth Walker. Maybe not this year, but you never know.
Yeah.
I think he was the best running back going into the draft, like the NFL draft.
Yep.
And man, Geno Smith isn't going to be able to throw the ball unless he stops being Geno Smith. But maybe he gets some opportunities there. Yeah, I mean, I think you've got some decent potential there. What I would say is don't be afraid to wheel and deal, just as I know you are never afraid to do that, but trade off of some of those potentially early season big games to shore up I think your wide receivers need shoring up, but I think you've got the pieces to do it. And maybe Ayuk becomes the guy that you think he will. And if he does that with Trey Lance, then you're gold.
Yeah. So if that happens, I think I can make this work. If it doesn't, I'm gonna have to wheel and deal. Just so is it here draft grades? Just so you know, according to Yahoo, I got a D, the lowest of anyone who drafted. So there's that.
Okay.
And just to add insult to injury, I go up against Jaden's team, who I think had one of the better drafts and who sniped me all the players that I wanted.
Yep.
Week one. So my last question is, who do I start in my, like, do I do the Brandon Ayuk and live the dream, hoping that Trey Lance against Chicago just goes nuts and gives me the advantage? I don't feel good about Paul against Baltimore. Like, I know he was my 4th round pick, but that just feels terrifying. I'd rather play Elijah Moore than him, honestly, against Baltimore, because the Jets, I think there's a better chance that he gets volume than that Brees does in his first NFL game.
I think Chicago is going to have trouble in the first week putting together their offense with all the stuff that they've changed.
Yep.
I think that's probably the play to go with. Yeah, I wouldn't start the Jets because there's just so much potential for that to just completely implode immediately.
Right. Right. So we'll see what I have in Ayuk. I think week 1. And I think too, I need the stack to beat this team. Like, I need Lance and Ayuk to blow up in order to win. And even if Lance did well and Elijah Moore did well, I think it's less likely or whatever. Like, I need everybody to do it.
I think you've got some definitely good potential in Javonte Williams, though, at Seattle. He's going to be the person they're going to use to run out the clock when they're big. I just don't see that going any other way. And I love Pitts against New Orleans, regardless of, I think he's a bad matchup for basically any team.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be interesting to see what he can do against anyone, really. I'm excited to see him play.
Yep. So we'll see on Thursday night once Gabe Davis has 30 points. Because Josh Allen went, hyper speed, and that's where we're going to be, I think. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's going to be fun when we blow up everything we've just said and realize that we were completely wrong about everything. That's going to be great. I look forward to it.
When Kenneth Gainwell is my top scorer on the bench because he starts for Miles Sanders and scores 3 touchdowns, we're going to be real excited. So,
we're going to be so ready for it. And then as soon as you put him in, he's going to get nothing.
That's how it works.
They're going to give him like 3 carries.
Oh,
and
man.
like Jalen Hurts will throw the ball like 60 times.
All right. Well, we're at 45 minutes, so I'm gonna call this an end to our podcast and say that next time we talk, it will be to viciously mock all the stupid decisions that everyone has made in their start sits, but mostly to mock my own team. So
Yes, that sounds perfect. I
so
love
get
it.
excited. All right, good luck until we talk to you next time on after hour chats, the night shift, night shifts with Cam and Dan. Goodbye.
See ya, everyone.